Respect isn't something you beg for, it's something you allow or you don't. People who don't respect you are teaching you how they see you, but here's the truth. You get to teach them how to treat you. In this talk, I'll share 5 powerful ways to handle people who cross that line, so you can stand tall, protect your peace, and never let disrespect define you. When someone disrespects you, your first instinct might be to snap back, raise your voice, or demand that they treat you better. But the truth is, respect doesn't come from pleading or fighting for it. It comes from showing people what you will and will not tolerate. That's where boundaries come in. Boundaries are not walls you put up to shut people out. They are gates that you control. They define the space where your self-respect lives. When you don't set boundaries, you're essentially giving people permission to treat you however they want. And often, if someone is already showing you disrespect, they will keep doing it until you decide to step in and say, "This is the line, you don't cross it." Boundaries start internally. They begin with you getting crystal clear about what you are willing to accept and what is non-negotiable. If you don't know where your lines are, how will anyone else? Think about the last time someone dismissed your opinion, raised their voice at you, or made a joke at your expense. How did you respond? Did you laugh it off to keep the peace? Did you stay silent because you didn't want conflict? Those little moments matter, because every time you let disrespect slide, you're training that person to believe it's okay. The power of a boundary is that it draws a visible line between what's acceptable and what's not. It says, "You can have access to me, but only under conditions that honor my worth." Now, setting boundaries doesn't mean you have to be aggressive. It doesn't mean you have to shame or embarrass someone. Boundaries work best when they are delivered with calmness and clarity. Imagine someone keeps interrupting you in conversations. Instead of snapping back, you could say, "I'm not finished yet, I'll let you know when I'm done." That's a boundary. It's not a fight. It's not a power struggle. It's simply a clear statement of where the line is. The moment you calmly assert it, you shift the dynamic. You stop playing defense against their disrespect, and you start playing offense with your self-respect. Another thing to understand is that boundaries aren't for the other person. They're for you. They protect your energy, your time, and your emotional well-being. If you set a boundary and the other person continues to cross it, then you know what to do next. You adjust their level of access to you. You don't keep trying to change them. You don't keep repeating yourself over and over. You recognize that your responsibility is not to make them respect you. It's to respect yourself enough to walk away or limit their role in your life. That's why boundaries are powerful. They put the control back in your hands. There's also a misconception that setting boundaries will make people dislike you or push them away. But the opposite is true. Healthy people respect boundaries. When you set one, you're not being difficult. You're being clear, and clarity is kindness. Think of it this way. If you don't set boundaries, resentment builds. You start feeling walked on, unheard, and undervalued. That resentment leaks out in passive-aggressive comments, silent treatments, or emotional withdrawal. Boundaries prevent all of that by making expectations clear from the beginning. Sometimes, people will test your boundaries just to see if you really mean it. That's normal. You can't just state them once. You have to enforce them consistently. If someone continues to disrespect you after you've set a clear boundary, then you're no longer dealing with a misunderstanding. You're dealing with a choice, and that choice isn't yours, it's theirs. Your choice is how you respond. Do you hold the line, or do you let it slide? Every time you hold the line, you strengthen your own sense of self-respect. Boundaries also teach people how to treat you without you having to constantly explain yourself. For example, if you don't answer phone calls after 10 p.m., people quickly learn that late-night calls won't get a response. That's a boundary without even saying a word. If you never engage in conversations where you're being insulted or mocked, people eventually stop doing it because they realize they lose access to you when they cross that line. Boundaries are like silent teachers. You don't have to lecture people, you just have to be consistent. It's important to note that boundaries are not one size fits all. What feels like disrespect to you might not feel that way to someone else. That's why your boundaries should be tailored to your values, your priorities, and your sense of self-worth. The more in touch you are with who you are and what matters to you, the easier it becomes to define and defend those boundaries. Because at the end of the day, people don't have to agree with your boundaries, they just have to respect them. When someone disrespects you, the easiest thing in the world is to throw that same disrespect right back at them. If they yell, you yell. If they roll their eyes, you roll yours. If they belittle you, you fire off a comment twice as sharp. It feels natural, almost automatic, because your brain is wired to protect you from attack. But here's the catch. The moment you mirror their disrespect, you've handed them control. You've allowed them to set the tone, to dictate your behavior, and to drag you down to their level. Matching disrespect may feel satisfying in the moment, but it never wins you real respect. It only creates more chaos. The truth is, disrespect thrives on reaction. People who treat others poorly are often looking for a rise. They want you to explode, to lose your calm, to prove their low opinion of you right. When you give them that reaction, you validate their behavior. But when you refuse to match their energy, you disrupt the cycle. You show them that you won't be baited into a game you didn't sign up to play. That's not weakness, it's strength, because it takes far more discipline to hold your composure than it does to lash out. Think about a time when someone was sarcastic or dismissive toward you. Maybe they said something under their breath meant to sting. Your first thought might have been to snap back with something equally cutting. But if you did, the moment turned into a fight about who could out-insult the other. Nothing was solved. Both of you walked away carrying more negativity than before. Now imagine if, instead of matching their sarcasm, you responded with calm clarity or even silence. That silence can be louder than any insult, because it refuses to give the disrespect a stage to stand on. Not matching disrespect doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It means responding with intentionality instead of reactivity. When someone comes at you with rudeness, you get to decide whether you'll escalate the conflict or redirect it. You can still be firm. You can still stand your ground. But the key difference is that you do it without stooping to their level. For example, if someone raises their voice at you, you don't have to raise yours. Instead, you can say, "I'll continue this conversation when we can both speak respectfully." That's not weakness, that's control. That's showing that you own your reactions, not them. There's also an element of dignity here. When you refuse to match disrespect, you preserve your own dignity. You prove to yourself that your self-worth isn't tied to someone else's behavior. People will always test you, whether intentionally or not. Some will disrespect you because that's how they operate with everyone. Others will do it because they think they can get away with it. But no matter the reason, your power lies in not letting their behavior dictate who you are. When you meet disrespect with calm strength, you walk away with your dignity intact, and that's something no one can take from you. Another powerful aspect of not matching disrespect is how it changes the dynamic in the room. Disrespect creates tension, heat, and noise. When you match it, you add fuel to the fire, but when you don't, you become the calm in the storm. People notice that. They notice who lost control and who kept it. And over time, the person who consistently chooses calm authority gains more respect, not just from the one being disrespectful, but from everyone watching, because people gravitate toward those who can hold steady under pressure. It's also worth remembering that disrespect is often more about the other person than it is about you. Maybe they're stressed, insecure, or carrying anger that has nothing to do with you. When you match their disrespect, you take ownership of emotions that were never yours in the first place. But when you choose not to engage at that level, you create space between their storm and your peace. You remind yourself, this isn't mine to carry. That separation is what protects your mental health and keeps you from being dragged into battles that aren't worth fighting. At the same time, choosing not to match disrespect doesn't mean you stay silent every time. Sometimes it means speaking up, but in a way that's calm, clear, and controlled. The difference is in the delivery. A cutting remark might win you the moment, but a composed response wins you the respect that lasts. Instead of saying, "You're being rude," you can say, "I don't engage in conversations when I'm spoken to that way." One is reactive, the other is intentional. One fuels the fire, the other puts it out. When you stop matching disrespect, you also start protecting your energy. Every time you rise to someone's level of negativity, you hand over your peace, your focus, and your emotional strength. It's exhausting, but when you choose to respond differently, you conserve that energy for things and people that actually deserve it. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Instead of being pulled into every argument or insult, you find yourself standing taller, calmer, and freer. When someone disrespects you, one of the most powerful tools you have is your ability to communicate with calm authority. Most people think authority comes from being the loudest voice in the room or dominating the conversation, but real authority doesn't need volume, it doesn't need aggression. It's not about overpowering the other person. Authority comes from confidence, clarity, and control. The calmer you are when you speak, the stronger your words become. People may ignore noise, but they pay attention to calm certainty. Think about how many times arguments spiral because both sides keep raising their voices, each person trying to outshout the other. Nothing gets solved in that space because the louder you get, the less anyone really listens. Calm authority cuts through all of that. When you speak with steady composure, you automatically shift the dynamic. You tell the other person, without even saying it outright, "I'm not here to compete with your disrespect. I'm here to hold my ground." That steadiness carries a weight that yelling never will. Communicating with calm authority also starts with your body language. Before you even open your mouth, people are reading how you stand, how you sit, how you hold yourself. If your shoulders are tense, your arms crossed, and your tone sharp, even if your words are polite, the message comes across defensive. But if your posture is relaxed, your tone steady, and your eye contact direct, you radiate control without saying a single word. That's why authority isn't just in what you say, it's in how you carry yourself while saying it. Calm authority requires clarity too. The more direct and simple your words are, the more powerful they become. Long explanations or defensive justifications weaken your stance. You don't need to explain your worth to someone who's disrespecting you. You don't need to convince them to see things your way. You only need to be clear about what's acceptable and what isn't. A simple statement like, "I don't allow people to speak to me that way," says more than a 5-minute lecture ever could. Clarity is power because it leaves no room for misinterpretation. Another key to communicating with calm authority is pacing. People often rush their words when they feel attacked, as if speaking faster will protect them from being interrupted or ignored, but rushing signals nervousness, not strength. Slowing down your words gives them weight. It gives people time to hear you, to process, and to feel the confidence behind your tone. Silence is part of authority too. When you pause before responding, you show that you're not rattled. You're choosing your words carefully. That pause alone can diffuse disrespect because it communicates composure. It's also important to remember that calm authority isn't about ignoring disrespect or pretending it doesn't affect you. It's about addressing it in a way that maintains your dignity. You can acknowledge bad behavior without mirroring it. For example, if someone interrupts you repeatedly, you could say, "I'll finish my thought, then I'd like to hear yours." It's respectful, but it also reestablishes control. Or if someone raises their voice, you can lower yours and say, "I'll continue this when the tone is respectful." Calm authority makes it clear that the conversation only continues under healthy terms. Consistency is another part of this. If you only communicate with calm authority sometimes, people may see it as situational or unconvincing. But when you consistently respond this way, it becomes your reputation. People learn over time that you don't get rattled, you don't get pulled into petty battles, and you don't let disrespect slide without acknowledgement. That reputation often shifts how people interact with you because they realize you are not someone who can be easily pushed, provoked, or manipulated. What makes calm authority especially powerful is that it protects your peace while still confronting the issue. It doesn't drain you the way shouting matches do, and it doesn't leave you feeling guilty later for saying something harsh in the heat of the moment. It leaves you grounded because you know you handled yourself with strength and self-control. And that's the kind of authority that lasts longer than any clever comeback. When someone repeatedly disrespects you, one of the most powerful responses isn't in what you say, but in what you allow. People only have as much access to you as you permit. If you continue giving someone space in your life after they've shown you who they are, you're teaching them that their behavior doesn't come with consequences. Limiting access doesn't mean you hate them or wish them harm. It means you value your peace enough to decide who gets to sit in the front row of your life and who gets moved further back. Access is a privilege, not a right. Just because someone wants your time, your attention, or your energy doesn't mean they're entitled to it. Too often, we keep people close out of guilt, habit, or obligation. Maybe it's a family member, a friend you've known for years, or a coworker you see every day. But longevity doesn't equal loyalty, and titles don't excuse disrespect. If someone continuously crosses your boundaries, belittles you, or undermines you, it's your responsibility to step back and reassess the role they play in your life. You can't control how they behave, but you can control how much of yourself you give them. Limiting access doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, like answering calls less frequently, shortening conversations, or choosing not to share personal details with them anymore. Other times, it's more direct, like declining invitations or setting specific times when you're available. The key is intentionality. Every interaction is either draining or fueling your energy. If someone is consistently draining you with their disrespect, it's on you to stop giving them unlimited access to that energy. It's also about protecting your mental space. Every time you allow a disrespectful person full access, they occupy room in your mind. You replay what they said, how they acted, and how it made you feel. That mental replay keeps you stuck in their world instead of focusing on your own growth. By limiting access, you break that cycle. You create distance between their negativity and your peace. And with that distance, you gain clarity. You start seeing them for who they are, not for who you wish they would be. Some people will notice when you limit access, and they may test you. They might accuse you of being distant, cold, or selfish. That's because your shift threatens their control. But remember, protecting your peace will always look selfish to the ones benefiting from your lack of boundaries. Your job isn't to explain or justify. Your job is to take care of your well-being. Limiting access isn't about punishing them, it's about protecting you. In certain cases, limiting access might mean cutting contact altogether. That's not easy, especially when it's someone close, but sometimes it's necessary. When disrespect becomes a pattern, when it chips away at your self-worth, when it leaves you feeling small every time you interact with them, the healthiest choice is distance. You don't have to hate them, you don't have to hold bitterness. You simply step back because your peace costs too much to keep paying the price of their disrespect. There's also strength in remembering that not everyone deserves full access to your emotions. When you respond to every slight, every rude comment, every jab, you're handing them control. By limiting access, you're not only reducing how much of your time they take, you're reducing how much of your emotional world they influence. Silence, distance, and disengagement can be stronger statements than any words you could use. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about refusing to let someone else's behavior dictate your energy. Over time, limiting access creates space for healthier connections. When you step back from those who disrespect you, you open the door for those who uplift and value you. It's not just about removing negativity, it's about making room for positivity, and that shift is what allows you to thrive. You stop investing in people who drain you and start investing in people who inspire you. That's when your environment begins to reflect your worth, because you've chosen to surround yourself with respect instead of constantly fighting for it. Your energy is one of the most valuable things you have, and yet it's often the first thing you give away without realizing it. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction costs energy. When someone disrespects you, they're not just attacking your words or your actions, they're pulling at your energy, and if you let yourself get caught in their negativity, you're handing them the very fuel that should be reserved for your own growth, your own peace, and your own purpose. Protecting your energy means recognizing that not everyone deserves a piece of it, especially those who consistently drain it with their disrespect. Disrespect is expensive. It costs you mental clarity, emotional stability, and sometimes even your physical health. You replay conversations in your head, thinking of what you should have said. You carry their words into your day, letting them weigh on your mood and shape your confidence. That's the hidden price of letting someone else's behavior invade your energy field. Protecting your energy doesn't mean pretending disrespect doesn't hurt. It means refusing to let it live rent-free in your mind. It's about saying, you can act how you want, but I choose what I allow inside. One way to protect your energy is by mastering the pause. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every jab deserves your attention. When you pause, you create space between their disrespect and your reaction. That space is where your power lies. In that space, you can choose whether to engage, disengage, or redirect. Without that pause, you fall into automatic reactions, and those automatic reactions usually cost more energy than they're worth. The pause is a shield. It protects you from handing over your peace in the heat of the moment. Protecting your energy also means being selective with your environment. If you constantly surround yourself with people who criticize, belittle, or drain you, it doesn't matter how strong you are. You'll eventually run low. Just like your phone battery drains faster when too many apps are running, your energy drains when too many negative influences are open in your life. Sometimes the best way to protect your energy is to step back from certain spaces, whether that's a toxic group of friends, a draining workplace conversation, or even online environments that fuel negativity. The less exposure you give to disrespect, the more energy you preserve for things that actually matter. Another aspect of protecting your energy is self-talk. Disrespect often leaves an echo, and that echo becomes the way you talk to yourself. If someone belittles you enough, you might catch yourself repeating their words in your own mind. That's why protecting your energy isn't only about guarding against external voices, it's about monitoring your internal voice too. You have to make sure that when others disrespect you, you don't start disrespecting yourself. Replacing their negativity with affirmations of your own worth is one of the strongest defenses you have. Boundaries also play a role here. Protecting your energy isn't possible without clear boundaries, because every time you let someone cross the line, they drain you a little more. Saying no, stepping back, or even walking away aren't signs of weakness. They are signs of conservation. You only have so much to give in a day, and if you're pouring it all into managing disrespect, you won't have any left for your goals, your passions, or the people who truly value you. Protecting your energy is about prioritizing where that limited resource goes. It's also about emotional regulation. People who disrespect you often want a reaction. They want you angry, flustered, or defensive, because that means they've pulled you into their world. Protecting your energy means refusing to give them that satisfaction. Instead of giving away your calm, you hold it close. You remind yourself that their behavior says more about them than it does about you, and in doing so, you preserve your emotional reserves. You don't walk away exhausted, you walk away intact. There's a discipline to this, because protecting your energy isn't something you do once and forget about. It's a daily practice. It's in choosing not to argue with someone who only wants conflict. It's in letting go of conversations that go nowhere. It's in reminding yourself that peace is more valuable than proving a point. Every time you make one of those choices, you strengthen your ability to guard your energy, and over time it becomes second nature. The more you protect your energy, the more you notice how powerful it really is. You stop reacting to every disrespectful person who crosses your path, and you start focusing on the people and situations that uplift you. You stop wasting time trying to earn respect from those unwilling to give it, and you start living from a place of self-respect that doesn't need validation. That shift changes everything: your relationships, your mindset, your confidence, even the opportunities that come your way. Because your energy sets the tone for the life you create. Respect always begins with the way you treat yourself. When you respect yourself first, you set the standard for how others are allowed to treat you. People take cues from you. If you consistently value yourself, they'll know they have to do the same. If you undervalue yourself, tolerate disrespect, or constantly put yourself last, you send a silent message that it's acceptable for others to do the same. Respecting yourself isn't about arrogance or thinking you're above anyone. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that you refuse to settle for less than you deserve. Self-respect shows up in the choices you make every day. It's in the way you talk to yourself, the boundaries you uphold, and the priorities you set. If you constantly criticize yourself, dismiss your achievements, or compare yourself to everyone else, you're tearing down your own respect. When you speak to yourself with encouragement, acknowledge your growth, and celebrate your progress, you reinforce your self-worth. The way you treat yourself privately always reflects in how you carry yourself publicly. People can see when someone has self-respect. It shows in their posture, their tone, their decisions, and their confidence. When you respect yourself first, you stop chasing validation from others. You no longer feel the need to prove your value to someone who refuses to see it. Instead, you live by your own standards, not theirs. Disrespect stings less when you know who you are, because their opinion doesn't shake your foundation. You recognize that someone else's inability to respect you doesn't reduce your worth. It reveals their limitations. Self-respect gives you the strength to walk away from situations and people who can't or won't honor you without feeling like you're losing something essential. One of the clearest signs of self-respect is the boundaries you create and maintain. Boundaries aren't just about protecting yourself from others. They are also a way of showing yourself that you matter. When you say no to things that drain you, when you refuse to tolerate toxic behavior, when you prioritize your well-being over pleasing others, you're demonstrating to yourself that your peace is important. That internal message builds your self-respect brick by brick, and the more consistently you uphold those boundaries, the more others recognize that you take yourself seriously, which forces them to do the same. Respecting yourself also means investing in your growth. You don't wait for others to validate you before pursuing your goals. You don't put your dreams on hold because someone else doesn't believe in them. You take ownership of your development, whether that's improving your skills, taking care of your health, or nurturing your passions. When you commit to growing, you're telling yourself that you are worth the effort, worth the time, and worth the investment. That commitment to yourself radiates outward, and people begin to see you as someone who values their own life enough to keep moving forward. Another part of self-respect is how you allow yourself to be treated in relationships. If you constantly settle for less than kindness, honesty, or consideration, you're teaching others that your needs don't matter. Respecting yourself means refusing to accept crumbs when you deserve a full seat at the table. It means not shrinking yourself to keep the peace or sacrificing your values just to belong. The relationships you allow reflect the level of respect you have for yourself. Choosing to walk away from connections that diminish you isn't cold. It's an act of self-respect that protects your heart and your dignity. Respecting yourself first also changes the way you handle disrespect when it shows up. Instead of internalizing it or making it about your worth, you recognize it for what it is, someone else's choice. You can respond with calmness because you're not trying to prove yourself. You already know your value. That inner confidence makes it harder for people to shake you or manipulate you. When you carry yourself with self-respect, disrespectful people often reveal themselves quickly because they realize they can't gain control over you the way they might with someone unsure of themselves. It's important to understand that self-respect isn't built overnight. It's a practice. It's built in the daily decisions you make, choosing rest instead of burnout, choosing honesty over people pleasing, choosing your voice over silence when something matters. Each decision adds to your foundation. Over time, you begin to walk differently, speak differently, and choose differently because you've built a level of respect for yourself that can't be easily shaken.